This is Book Talk with Corbin. I am your host. Thank you for tuning in. This is probably one of the saddest podcasts I've ever had to do. I say it's sad because it's my personal tribute to the great Rush Limbaugh. As you know, he died February 17, 2021, and Rush Limbaugh has had quite a positive impact on me as an individual, as an American citizen, as a human being, and as somebody who's actively involved in social media. What I'd like to do is just share with you why I started, how I became such a major Rush Limbaugh fan. Many years ago, I heard how this guy named Rush Limbaugh was a brazen racist. He was a bigot. He hated women, and he hated homosexuals, and he hated black people. So I was like, oh my goodness, this guy sounds horrible. And how can he be such a hateful individual and have such a popular radio program? And so I said, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to listen to this guy for myself. I'm going to hear what he's got to say. And as soon as he says something racist, I'm going to jump on that radio program and challenge him. But let me first back up a little bit and explain why I took that attitude. And in a very real sense, I took that attitude because of Malcolm X. When I was in college, I did a research paper on Malcolm X. And I was, in the course of doing some research on Malcolm X, I saw this New York Times reporter, Emmis Handler, who was always doing stories on Malcolm X. And he portrayed Malcolm X as this person who say these really crazy things. And I said, let me check this out. Because my father had a lot of books on Malcolm X that I read. And I said to myself, man, that just didn't seem right. Didn't seem to jibe. So as far as the way this New York Times reporter was talking about Malcolm X and how I understood Malcolm X. So what I did, I was able to find the speeches that this New York Times reporter was reporting on. I was able to find them in a book. And then so I was able to take the speech, the full transcript, the full speech, and compare it to the article, and then I would be able to find the quote that was in the article, New York Times article, from a given speech. The interpretation's one thing, and I can understand that, but there are times these interpretations were just really false. I mean, they just weren't accurate. But it taught me to always go directly to the source. Don't depend on someone else giving you their interpretation, their opinion about an individual. Go straight to the source. That's what I did in college when I did this research paper on Malcolm X. I went straight to the source. As a matter of fact, at Berea College, where I graduated, they always, the professors I had in the political science department, that's what would always encourage us to do. Go directly to the source. Don't depend upon other people's interpretation. Go directly to the source. So that's why when I started hearing about this Rush Limbaugh guy being this racist and this bigot, I went straight to the source. I said, well, I'm not going to depend 100% on other people's interpretation, other people's opinion about this man. So I started listening to his radio program, and I said, well, I'm waiting for this guy to make his racist and bigoted statements. Well, folks, years and years and years later, I'm still waiting. They just weren't there. Calling this man a bigot and a racist, hateful individual is just absurd. Just flat out absurd. I found the man to be humorous. He did a lot of parodies I thought were just hilarious. He was someone who's very witty and very intelligent. I really checked out a lot of what he said about the modern civil rights era and about particular individuals such as Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. I found him to be dead on accurate. You may not like the way he interpreted things, but he was not inaccurate. He was not lying, and he definitely wasn't anywhere close to being a racist. I mean, it was just that's just a lot when people kept saying that about him. So that's why I started checking out Limbaugh, Rush, and I just been a fan ever since. I started reading his books. I read 2 of his books. The Way Things Ought to Be, that's one of the books I read. I enjoyed that book so much. I read another one of his books, and I just fell in love with the guy, and I've been a major fan of his ever since. Here's the one other thing I want people to take away from. Here's a takeaway from this. Read his books. Don't be dependent upon what other people say about him. Read his books. Go directly to the source. Now, if you agree with the man, that's fine. If you disagree with the man, that's fine too. But I know one thing's certain. You will come to realize these people are lying about this man when they call him a racist. It's the same thing with Donald Trump too. I was up in Harlem doing a lot of different things up in Harlem. They never said anything like that about Donald Trump. Never. As a matter of fact, Jesse Jackson reached out to him and asked for some help from Donald Trump, and Donald Trump gave it to him, and there's even a recording of Donald Trump being in an event put on by Jesse Jackson in Harlem, Percy Sutton in Harlem. Never referred to that man as a racist. Then all of a sudden he's this major bigot. People go directly to the source. Don't depend on other people's interpretation of somebody. Go directly to the source. I remember I had a professional and personal connection to Desmond Tutu, the 1984 Nobel Peace Prize winner. And I know at one time there were some people saying that Desmond Tutu is an anti-Semite, and another time a person called Desmond Tutu, what was it? South Africa's Marxist bishop. Let me tell you, I went directly to the source. I knew this man. Again, I had a personal and professional relationship with him. I lived in his home for close to 2.5 months. I was there, dinner with the man, lunch with the man, at his office. I would ride with him from Johannesburg to his home in Soweto. He is no anti-Semite. That was a lie that people were saying about him. And he's no Marxist. That was a lie people were saying about him. Go directly to the source. I went directly to the source with Desmond Tutu. I went directly with the source about Donald Trump. I went directly to the source about Malcolm X, and of course Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh, like Desmond Tutu, Malcolm X, has had a very positive impact on me. And I just want to encourage folks, read for yourself about Rush Limbaugh. Listen to his broadcast. Don't depend on other people's interpretation or opinions about his broadcast. Read his. You listen to his broadcast. You read his books. You reach your own conclusion. I did. So this is my tribute to the great Rush Limbaugh. Brother Rush, you made a great impact on me, and I just want to say to his family, I mourn with thee. And Brother Rush, rest in peace, my brother, and thank you for being such a positive influence on me.